course, the executive producer, Isaac Morales, is here tonight. Look, she's being such a producer right now. She's going to actually get his mic. And of course, the director. Please take a bow. So,
come on, Chris, take a bow.
Take a bow.
This guy, right?
That's a good director.
You're part of the family, buddy.
You want to sit on my lap?
Yeah, I do.
That's lovely, lady.
This is very Latino. Look how proud we are.
Rent this couch.
Yeah. We wanted this to be in your living room. So this is your living room too. And that's part of the Latino thought making. Which was great about it. We've gone from theater, you know, all these experiences, comedy, and I feel the Obama days. Remember?
Back in the 1900s.
In the 1900s. That's when there was just flickering lights that made TV and film back then.
The talkies.
The talkies, yeah. We never thought those would last, did we? We didn't. But, so what do you guys feel about it? I mean, how do you feel after this experience? I mean, me and Laura's backstage, we've known each other for years. And at the time that this all happened, I was actually fighting my own health issue, what they call it a health issue, which you learn from. And I was in a coma for almost 2 weeks and nearly died. And Lourdes was about the same time, we were fighting cancer. And I was so jealous because I thought she beat me in terms of sympathy much more than I had. I was so angry. And
competitive business.
I was just, I got bigger down. I'm in a coma. But she had cancer, so that beat me. So, but one thing we did share is that I went to a place called the Optimum Health Institute. Now, the Optimum Health Institute is a place in Lemon Grove, California. And I went there, and it's just wheatgrass. They feed you wheatgrass, raw food. Again, we go into all the things they do to your body, but they do things. I was in a coma, and a week later, I was able to walk. And after 2 weeks in a coma, I was able to walk and give a speech at the World Bank. So I really believe in the Optimum Health Institute. What I believed was just, no, that is great. So, what I loved about it is it really changed my life in a lot of ways. And Laura's went through the same thing, the Optimum Health Institute. And I tricked one of my business partners, Rafael Agostino, works in this program, has done a great job, amazing man. I said, Rafa, I got this big residual check. Let me treat you to a spa. I want to take you to the Optimum Health Spa. And you'll be with me, because my doctor said, listen, if you have another relapse, they're not going to know why you're passing out. You have a head injury. So you should take someone that understands that. And so I said, Rafa, we're going to the Optimum Health Spa. It's going to be so much fun. And he's thinking, oh man, facials, massages. Oh, this is great. It's the Optimum Health Institute. So you go there, and it's like they climb the door, and you're there with a lot of people that are much older than us, and many with big health issues. And for 1 week, you just detox. That's all you do. And what it taught me is wait a minute, there's maybe some other things, because this is a society we live in. This is about drugs. You know, big pharmacies, well, you know, they give you a drug to get your high blood pressure up to a certain down, but they give you another drug to protect your kidneys, and they give you another drug, and it seems to be this, you know, plethora of drugs. And actually, my own experience was being in a hospital, and when I was in the hospital, in the emergency ward, I kept being woken up with the code blue. They do these code blues, so that means someone's dying or something next to you. And so they said there's pneumonia in the hospital, and it keeps getting closer to you, so they actually pick my bed up and move it to another area. So I'm like, it's like 5 doors down is pneumonia, so they keep moving me. And I said, there's just something about our medical situation in this country that they're not looking at the other options. And that's why I brought this documentary here. So, Isai, what got you involved?
Well, I'm a sucker for a good cause.
Yes, you are.
And a good cause, you can't find a better cause than to help someone who wants to live. The key here is her desire to live, but live well, live authentically, not live as a life support system for an industry that does not care about you as much as the commercials may pretend to. I'm all for money. Sure, we should all make money, but at what expense? And I feel like we're literally being farmed by the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm saying, wait a minute. You know, we're kept ignorant. We're not taught how to heal and empower ourselves. We're taught how to depend upon something or somebody else or authority. If you're have letters behind your name, you know, if you're a doctor, you can tell someone when they're going to die. And I don't think that that's fair, and that's right. You can say, well, these are the numbers, these are statistics. By the way, those statistics are manipulated. Just today, I heard a story about some wonderful folks that are friends with the love of my life. And this person received news that their cancer had come back. And it was after 5 years. As I was explaining this to Lourdes, Lourdes goes, yep, 5 years, that's it. Now Lourdes, why don't you explain the 5-year rule?
Yeah.
And see how statistics are manipulated for them to say we have cured it, or, you know, look at our success rate at a certain point, but they don't talk, there's a cutoff, because they know that 5 years later, it's going to come back anyway. So they don't count the success beyond 5 years, because those numbers would drop even further. So why don't you explain that?
Yeah, it was interesting throughout my research, because I did a lot of research. I really wanted to understand this. And I got clear that when they say, oh yeah, well so-and-so had cancer, oh, their success rate is this and that, and what they base it on is a 5-year success rate. Because they know in between, and that's why if you ever look at that book they have you read when you are assigned to do chemotherapy, no one's going to read all those pages and all those side effects and all things. One of the things is going to tell you that it does cause cancer. You'll end up with either the same cancer or a different cancer, or it'll metastasize. It doesn't get rid of it because chemotherapy or radiation is not made to get rid of the stem cell part of the cancer. It doesn't have that power. What it does, it keeps you in remission. Remission doesn't mean it got rid of it. It just means that they got it there at bay with control, and hopefully between those 5 years, you won't get it again. After those 5 years, they won't check you anymore, because chances are you'll come back to them anyway, because usually within 15 years, you're going to metastasize and die from it anyway, because that's what chemotherapy and radiation does. It does not cure you. They can't tell you it cures you. So they use that statistics of 5 years. So when you look at their rates, they're not going by that the person never got cancer again. They're not going by that the person died 5 years and 2 days later. They're just going by, within those 5 years, these are the amount of people we kept alive for so long. Now, they could have had the cancer, and they probably had the cancer the whole time, but they didn't die from it within those 5 years.
They claim victory.
And there it is. So most people go, oh yeah, but if you look at their statistics, you're looking at the wrong part of it. There's a point and reason why they stop at 5. So when he said, yeah, it's been 5 years, I'm like, yeah, 5 years. That's what it is. And my sister, perfect example, had cancer. And within 2.5 years, she got it again. And then 11 years later, she got it again, because she was still in between those 15-year mark. And then after that, she got it again. And she continued to keep doing it their way. And now, mind you, she did do natural stuff, but she was hardcore, whatever the doctor said. And so now she's, even though she's younger than me, she battles a lot of health issues because of the side effects of chemotherapy. And now she's got stuff going on again. And that's typical with chemotherapy.
So declaring victory isn't necessarily victory. Like we declared victory in Iraq hasn't quite didn't quite happen that way.
It's not like that at all. It's like, in fact, there are stuff that they, that doctors, that true doctors that are really trying to find the cure have found cures. They're not being funded, they're privately funded, and there's like one hospital in Philadelphia, another one's in the Mayo Clinic. There's like 3 different hospitals now that have been fighting and curing cancer. And I can say the word cure because they're getting the root, the actual stem cell of the cancer out. And they're doing that through, there's a couple of viruses. One is HIV, and it's not the actual, they take a component from the HIV and they inject it back in there, and what they found interesting is that it doesn't do anything to the body other than it goes right to the cancer and kills it and gets rid of it. Not that it's remission like chemotherapy, but literally kills it, it's done, it's over.
Even measles, I've heard.
Yes,
Measles.
they're taking it from from those viruses. And interesting enough, again, pharma or the big companies or government won't fund them. And I always talk about if you really think about it, why aren't they're like, we're looking for the cure, we're looking for the cure. It's in your face, why aren't you funding it? So if we're really looking for the cure, why aren't those stories all over the media? Why aren't we doing the march on to raise the funds for those hospitals who found the cure so that we can continue to help people get cured by cancer? Instead, we're doing the marches and keep putting in the money to find the cure and ignore the cure.
You said something, interesting. You said something, it was a fear. You said
The fear of death is used to control us.
Yes.
If you study the work of a comedian who passed away of, was it kidney or liver cancer? He got cancer and died. Which, again, you know, I believe in certain conspiracies because I know that they just don't happen to tell the truth, and I believe people who do tell the truth die young in life. And the basis of his humor at the end of the day was, it's just a ride, folks. We're on a ride. We go up, we go down, and then we go to the next plane. This whole fear of death is what is held over us to control us. So if you didn't fear death or pain, the mafia and the military or the systems that bully you into complying wouldn't work because you're like, okay, whatever. Kill me. You can't kill everybody if everybody's aware. And there's a kind of mental enslavement that we go through, that we're conditioned with. We watch TV, we hear stories, we read books, we see the media, and we're constantly fed things to make us what? Happy? No. Afraid. Be afraid. Protect yourself. Security. Security. You know, and there comes a point where, why bother living if you're going to be afraid most of your life? That's why I said, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go swinging. I'm not going to make it easy for you to go, okay, okay. You know, you know, begging for my life, please don't kill me. Really? Really? So you do what she did, which is like, no, listen to your body, listen to the God within you. And if you don't believe in God, listen to the nature. There's something inside of all of us that makes you guys feel for each other. I can't watch this movie without crying, and I'm in it. I know how it ends.
You know, and introducing Dolores before the movie started, I wanted to know there wasn't going to be a happy ending. So that was a smart thing. But I have to ask, of course, the director, who happens to be the husband as well. I mean, I'm so moved by your devotion.
Yeah, thank you.
It's amazing. And I'm a comedian. I joke with these guys all the time, and I said some pretty bad, distasteful jokes I'll never repeat out here. But
yes, he will.
Yeah. But I was amazed. I mean, how did you keep the outside looking in on such a hard subject? You're watching your wife.
You know, I've said it before. In a strange way, making a documentary about this journey helped us both, because it gave us something to focus on besides what was happening. And I'm like most people, when I found that Lourdes had cancer, like it was for sure. I was scared, I was terrified. I was by myself in a warehouse. I was working at this warehouse, and on the phone I was Mr. Brave guy. You know, great, you know what this is. Oh, we're totally gonna kick its ass now, yes. And when I hung up the phone, I broke down and cried. You know, and I just allowed myself to feel that for a while. And what happened was I started to get really objective when I was on the other side of the camera. And so I always equated it to, like, it was strength for me to document it, to be witness to it became its own strength for me, because I was able to be objective as best I could most often. I'm not saying I was strong the whole way through. Yeah, you know, there was times where I always felt like I had a cup inside of me, and this cup was a slow drip of emotion, you know. And being in behind the camera kind of just kept it at bay for so long, but every now and then it overflowed. And I felt it, and I was there with it, and I just kept getting back to being present. And what you realize when you're facing something like this is that you have to get into a mode where you're thinking about what's happening right now. Because really, when I was sad and when I was feeling down and downtrodden and scared, it was because I already felt like I knew an outcome, you know? And it just wasn't real, because the only thing that's real is what's happening right now. And so I had this little trick I kept playing in my mind over and over again. And I'd start to get terrified and then say, well, wait, what's happening right now? Well, what's happening right now is Lourdes is alive. And what's happening right now is Lourdes is fighting. You know, there's no outcome, because it doesn't exist yet. So a lot of times that was what kind of got me back to center with this.
Did you ever, at one point, think, I'm gonna lose her?
Yes, and it happened when we were in Optimum Health Institute together, when things had gotten really very bad after that last PET CAT scan. And she had gotten so very bad, and I remember thinking for the first time when I was in Optimum Health Institute, and I don't know why it occurred to me when it did, but there was just this silence that occurred, and I realized, my God, she's really sick. You know, like, she's really seriously sick. And then I was able to kind of come back from that and say, well, yeah, but she's fine, we're going to be fine. And then the second time it occurred was literally when we were driving to Mexico, because the camera doesn't do a good job picking it up, but she was literally green. So she had a green hue to her, she couldn't stay awake. And I just kept thinking to myself, this is it. Like, it's gotten so serious now, it's not a distant thing anymore, it's right on me.
Lourdes, it's a gift. Life, I think anyone who's ever come close to death, you come back changed in some way. Do you feel it's happened to you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, I love life. I thought I loved life before. No, I love it. Like, when there's bad times, I love it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm alive to be upset about this. You know, it's like, that person just really got on my nerve. This is so great. Like, it's a total different experience. You know, it's like...
Because you look at the little things. I mean,
yeah.
Like, when I'm children, so when my kids ever get upset, I'll go, is this a big deal or a little deal? And so it'll be like,
yeah.
You didn't get your right shoes right. Is that a big deal or a little deal?
Yeah.
And it comes out as simple as that. Is this a big deal or a little deal?
It totally makes a big deal. In fact, now it's like, you know, and before because I've always had a desire and love, I just love people. Like, I've always wanted to, you know, just connect with you. I like people watching and just the love I have for them. And so to be an inspiration, that was like an opportunity for me. And just knowing the little things now, like, I want people to know that fear will always get in the way of your outcome, period. Even if you're, like, seriously, I had like a week left to live. I had 5% use of one lung, the other one was completely gone. And even with that, I was feeling the death, and I still knew that I was gonna make it. And there's something about knowing, there's something about your body, how it works with you. When you know, and you're surrounded with people that are gonna be right behind you 100%, you'll beat it. It's like when I went to Mexico, before I even left, I was like, wow, I feel great. Like, I don't even feel cancer anymore. I was bummed because I had to do chemo anyway to seal the lung. And then I get back, and what was funny was they kept treating it as though I still had the cancer. So they're telling me, you know, you have to finish it because there's this regimen. They're telling me this whole stuff, how I can make these, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't after I did all this stuff. So I'm going through this process, and I think, you know what, let me go through this process so then I can speak from this, because but at the same time, continually keep doing the right things. I kept detoxing daily, even though that's not what they wanted me to do. I did 4 coffee enemas every day. I put in probiotics daily. And I finally, just a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, right? I said, I want to check those PT CAT scans that every time I would ask the doctors, like, do I still have cancer? Because I'm thinking, I didn't feel the cancer when I left Mexico. And they would always do everything to not answer the question. You know, it's a regimen and everything. But I'm thinking,
they never said yes or no.
No, they would never say that. And to the very last treatment, they said, you know, you have to think there's no cancer inside his death.
But they did tell them about the 5 millimeter or the...
Yeah, so this is what, so I finally go and I'm like, I'm getting these tests. I'm gonna go pick them up. So I go up there, I'm like, hey, I want to get the copies of my PT CAT that I had in 2012 during the Game of Information. They gave it to me. And so I start, because I don't understand the language, right? I'm looking at like SUV 1.2, 1. What? And I'm looking at all of them, and then I look up online and I search it. So I learned that when your SUV, if it's the number 3 or higher, it means it's not scar tissue, it's probably cancer, especially if it's a hyper or whatever, in other words, hot, where it's cancer. And if it's anything less than that, it means it's just like scar tissue, you know, that kind of thing. So I go and I'm reading this, and I go and I'm like, oh my God, when we re-edited the documentary, I said, these are going back in there because I want people to see that I didn't have cancer after I left Mexico. It was only scar tissue.
And they still treated her for it.
And they still treated me for cancer even though I didn't have it. I'm like, there's my proof. So that's going into the documentary. But, and this is, the PT CAT scan is done here in the US. So it was perfectly awesome.
What I like about the story is that you took responsibility
Yes.
for your health. That to me is the most amazing thing. It's hard to come back from any disease or, injury without you mentally getting involved.
Yes.
You have to mentally, I remember when I was barely walking, I had to mentally go, I need to move this one leg over here, move this one leg over here, and you start to walk. But was there how would you say how you affected mentally? How were you able to get your mind in this fight?
For me, especially when I was going through the whole fight and stuff, is I actually had to relearn to walk again. It's weird how your muscles kind of stop working when you're in a coma like that. And I didn't realize it until I had to get up to go sit on a chair because they wanted me to get off the bed. And they had to help me, and I'm like, really? I think I got this. And then I realized like my legs weren't working, and that was weird. But going through the whole process, one of the things that helped me was my desire for the love that I have for the people, to be a difference, because we've lost so many to cancer, and it made no sense to me. That I knew that I just had to keep focused and know that if I do the right things, and I can show people that you just have to pull out the fear, do the right things, do the nutrition, do all these things you need to do, and don't get wrapped into the medicine stuff, because that's so toxic to the liver that does over 500 functions. Like, when I started learning every little thing and focused on the outcome, that I started doing everything for the sake of how I can help others. And so I was always looking at the prize. The prize was to be a difference, to save other people's lives. And anytime I thought, these legs aren't working, it's like, no, these legs are going to work, and it's going to help. And so that was, my goal was always looking at the goal, and the goal was to always help save other lives when it came to cancer.
That's my next question for you, Sai, because I've known you as an activist. I've also known you always to have an opinion. And yes.
He has no opinion.
But what I liked about you, because it's funny, we've known each other for so long, is that you're very passionate. What makes you, no, I'm not talking about Latino passionate. I'm talking about you actually, I've known you for years, and I have to say, you are consistent. You are consistent. You believe in something, you fight 100%. And what lured you to this project?
Lourdes. Yeah, well, the fact is that who hasn't lost someone dearly, that they love dearly to cancer? You look around, the numbers are staggering. And I could sit here, if I get too close, then I'll start bawling right now. All you nice, wonderful strangers and friends. I have a fierce love for people like she does. And I know that's my sister.
That's true. That's one thing I can say about you. You have a...
You don't let your family die without a fight. Where I come from, you step up for each other. You don't just go, oh, glad that wasn't me. That's the kind of mentality that we have today.
We were both in an NBC article on Mother's Day. Remember that? You're in that article. We were both in the article. The article was about Isai, his memory of his mother, my memory of my mother.
Everybody understands. Give us the memory of your Latina mother.
So my memory is, it's a nice memory of this woman who was a waitress that was, helping out my brother. And Isai's memory was, my mom was in this fight in front of,
What happened was that I had gotten into it with some kid that I had gone to school with, and he had all his brothers around, and next thing you know, I'm fighting 5 or 6 people. And my mother hears something, she goes out there and she's trying to pull them off me. But then their mother sees my mother, and next thing you know, my mother and I are in a full-on Bronx style way, and then hey, I'm like, don't let me hit you. And it was very ghetto fabulous of us.
But I think what's great about the story is you're talking a little something about your background. I'm going, he's in the middle of a battle in New York in front of this, and I was a tenement. And so basically I was like, that's Isai.
It didn't happen every day, but the fact of the matter is, in this world that's so competitive, if you don't stand up for yourself, I'm not an abuser. I'm not I can't, you want to know who I fight a lot lately, and unfortunately this is very it gets to me, the police. The police and I, it's not one, police are not one. There are an amazing, amazing amount of people that don't get credit, that work really hard, that risk their lives, and I know about them. And I have friends that are former police officers once a year dying. But I'm talking about the ones that take advantage of the power. The ones that get their frustrations out on the people. That unless you're one of them, you're nothing but a suspect and not to be trusted. So when I talk and post things about them, oh my God, do I get fire from other police officers, especially my New York brethren. I was on a show called NYPD Blue. I took pride in representing a Latino lieutenant in New York Police Department with integrity, with honor, with dignity. I took pride in that, and I got a lot of love from my boys in blue. But some people can't take criticism well. And they can't understand that you're not criticizing them all. If you don't want us to treat you like you're all the same, then don't feel attacked when I'm talking about the ones who besmirch the honor of the badge. You know, who kill people and then ask questions. You know, I understand it's a freaky, scary job, I know that, but there are lots of cops who don't do that, and some who do. And unfortunately, it's very difficult for the good cops to corral the bad cops because their lives can depend upon it. At one point, you know, it's easy to say from your keyboard, hey, you know, you guys should clean up your own act. But what I found out in these debates is, look at Frank Serpico. Look what he tried to do in the 70s and clean up the New York Police Department. I mean, you know, he was, like, next thing you know, a target. Not just from the bad guys, but from his own brothers who would not go to a call if he was in trouble. He's not going to get back up because they view him as a rat. They want us to rat each other out, but they can't say, hey, brother, you're going a little too far.
And now you're playing the President of the United States.
Yes.
And on HBO.
Sorry.
I got a promotion. You did well. You're playing the first, I think first Latino
The
president?
next first Latino president of the United States on TV. I think Jimmy Smits was our first.
Was he your first?
Wait, that's
Yeah.
in drama. I'm in a comedy, but playing a straight president, playing a Republican president at that, surrounded by a bunch of hawks, and my one liberal line in our cabinet, Secretary of State, is played by Tim Robbins, who's a bit of a rock star.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very funny show. It stars Jack Black and Tim and Asif Mandvi as a Pakistani cab driver, and Pablo Schreiber from Orange is the New Black. So it's an amazing show. It premieres on Sunday, I believe, June 21st on HBO. Be there.
June 21st. Now, I want to open it up. Are you all having a good time?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel this is our Mexican living room. I don't smell menudo going on anywhere. So
I hear them though.
I hear it. Yeah, I hear it. And there is a child here every single time, which I happen to love. I don't get me wrong. I love the fact that we bring our children out to see shows.
That's right.
So God bless you, because you were my mom years ago. She'd bring me to places like this. So let's open up and get some questions from the audience, because this is also the nice thing about our program here, and it's a program that I believe continues to succeed. You know, sometimes huge audiences, sometimes not, but the fact is we're going to be consistently doing this, because when it comes to Oxnard, I always say, why not Oxnard? Oxnard deserves this show. So, anyone have any questions? Can we bring the lights up a little?
One at a time.
One at a time. Don't be scared. This is the time. But this is, yes.
I just want to bring you to my house and we can talk forever, you know? I know what you mean. Lourdes, when you were saying, actually, both all of you, you had to fight with the treatment. It's kind of like when I had my baby, and you know, you need a vaccine for this. No, thank you, sign this. No, thank you, sign that. I mean, every single thing. I mean, my daughter almost died because they wanted to do the ear. You know, when they do the hearing test, and they wouldn't let my husband in the room. And he's like, I guarantee I am going in there. And the lady finally said, fine. So when the lady walked away, you know how they leave them in there by themselves? She almost choked. And what if he wasn't there? But I mean, they hated us as well, which is why they put us in this West Wing and like, you know. So what you were saying, question is, the part where you were better, like literally with zero cancer,
Right.
you're clean. And they had to do the chemo to stitch up the lung, the scarring, right?
Scar, yes.
that's what got you sick again? I mean, if you, let's say you could have stayed in Mexico. Would
Can
it be
anybody
different?
hear her?
Question
Yeah,
is,
The question is,
I'm Mexican, you can hear me right now.
What
Would
I think-
it have been, would have the outcome would have been different? Now gotten back to almost like downhill again if you
Right,
stayed with the
if-
other doctor.
Yes, because there's a lot of stuff that's not in the documentary.
you want to repeat the question for the audience?
So she wanted to know if I would have just been in Mexico and took care of it there and not have to go in here and do this chemo to scar, would I have not haven't gotten sick again and the things that went downhill for me. And the answer is I would have been fine if I would have stayed in Mexico and would have been do the things there because when they did the chemo here, they gave me high dose. And, that's like, it made everything shut down. That's how bad it was. If I would have had the funds to do it in Mexico, they would have just gave me the low dose. It was just enough to scar that they need to scar the lungs. And I wouldn't, because it was a low dose, I wouldn't have went into a coma. It wouldn't have shut down my body. And that was the difference. Also, if they would have, in the first place, because I ended up with pneumonia that they wouldn't take care of here. And so the node kept rubbing against the lung. So because I coughed like every 2 seconds, cough, 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 like it was nonstop 24 hours a day, so it caused an opening. And because they wouldn't take care of it here because I wouldn't do chemo, it's a total story. These are stories that are not in the documentary. I just wanted to show my journey, but there was a lot of stuff that went on there that because, and that's what happens with the medical field, when they see that you're doing it a different way outside of what's going to mess with their pocket, they'd rather see you die and say, see, she tried to do it natural, look what happened, she died. You see what I'm saying? What they don't show you is how I was going to be fine, but they allowed things to get so bad that I eventually did have to do chemo, but if they would have taken care of the pneumonia in the first place, I would have never had the opening happen.
It literally happened like this. We went to the emergency room because she was low with her blood and they found pneumonia. And they found pneumonia in the x-rays. And so she went to the room and then the doctor came and said there's no pneumonia. And actually the doctors started arguing with each other back and forth. And so they said, well, we need you to do chemotherapy. And I said, I'm not going to do chemotherapy. And just so that everybody here is very clear on this, doctors cannot make you do something that they suggest. Doctors are suggesting treatment. You have 100% right to say no to the treatment. So,
accept vaccines now if you don't watch it.
it's true. Let's get to that point.
Yeah, but you can still fight that. I mean, I'll fight it tooth and nail. Put me on your board. I'd be like, bring it on.
But the attitude was that once she said no to the chemotherapy, they said, well, okay, why even bother with that pneumonia? You're not going to do chemotherapy.
Yeah, they're like, you figure it out yourself.
Literally.
They were
Yeah.
wrong.
Literally.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm coming to you to take care of this illness. I'll take care of the cancer, I just need you to fix this. You have the ability to give me the antibiotics to take care. Because when you have pneumonia like I had, and it was really bad, they usually put you in the hospital and they give you hardcore antibiotics to knock it out, right? And you're in there for a while because it can be very dangerous. Especially if your immune system is shot like mine's, where I had my cancer in the lymphatic system and the immune system. That's where I really needed to get it done. So if they just would have taken care of that, I would have went home. Once that was gone, I would have put in plenty of probiotics, get back and forth, got destroyed, got antibiotic, and I would have continued my journey.
Yeah, 90% of your immune system, or 80 to 90,
Yes.
is in your intestines. It's in the gut bacteria.
Yes.
So if you take antibiotics and don't get probiotics to replace it, you're setting yourself up for
Your
potential
natural
Yes.
fauna and flora of your intestines,
good bacteria.
the good
Yes.
bacteria.
Tell them what happened though. This is going to be interesting. She went to this cancer place that you guys saw, and they gave her that PET scan. By the way, that should be the first question. What if she never would have done the PET scan to begin with?
Right. Well, actually, I wouldn't have done the PT CAT scan. I would have been done with the cancer. I was actually almost done with the cancer.
At the first place, maybe, right?
I didn't want her to do the PET cancer.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost gone. Like you should have seen, it was so awesome to just watch it all, just get away and watch it flush in the toilet. It was disgusting, but it was awesome.
But tell them then what happened when you went to get your chemo and they put something in there.
No, the PT CAT scan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen to this.
Well, what they did is, usually when you do a PT CAT scan, if there's anybody here in the medical field, you'll know, it's literally one tube thing that they come in and they inject you, and then they wait for 45 minutes and you go in you do the test and you leave. What they did for me is, first of all, when I walked in, they were very informative about everything I was doing. And I was like denying it all, like, no, yeah, you're doing a documentary and you're trying on this. I'm like, no, not at all. They go, hey, well.
In other words, there was an intelligence apparatus at work here that knew who she was and what she was doing.
They knew a lot about my stuff, and I incorporated, because I kept, on Facebook, I was like daily posting my little videos of all the improvements I was doing naturally and how I was getting better. And then somehow, when I go out there, they have all this information about me, and I'm like, that's, and my dad. And they, in fact, they even called my doctor, pretending to be my dad, and wanted to know what I was, all the things that I'm doing to fight cancer. And so he asked my permission if that was okay to tell my dad. I'm like, my dad lives in Puerto Rico, and at that time he was living in Puerto Rico. I said, he doesn't speak English, and he has no clue who my doctor is. And so I said, no, don't tell that person that. I don't know who, so he didn't. But it was just really weird things that started happening. So then what they did is they injected me with the PT CAT scan. And then they came in with another different tube, and they injected through the side. And as soon as that went in, they erased they scanned me, so once they scanned me, then someone somewhere knows who just got injected with what, and then they deleted all my documents other than I had a PT CAT scan.
They erased the documents saying what they'd given her that was out of the norm.
And they told her it was standard practice.
Yeah. And so, and then he left, and when he put it in, the weirdest, it was just like instant. I could feel my neck, and I could feel it bubbling like bubbles, and I'm like, ew, and it was really, really gross, and I could just feel the cancer going so fast. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I really took it in this time. So, and by that night, my stomach, like I was pregnant, and it was like moving, and it was like and then by the end of the week, I had this baby head sticking out of my pit, and it was so, like, unraveled so many things just from this one test, that no matter what I was doing, it was not getting rid of it. Like, I was just getting worse. The pneumonia kicked in. Like, everything that could happen wrong happened all in 1 week after the PT CAT scan. And I'm like, crap, how do I undo this now? Because whatever they put in stuck, and it was not leaving. So, and that's when things just went fast.
That was the first time anything like that. In other words, she'd never gone through any of the CAT scans with that kind of protocol, right? With that.
No, because I had one done like a year before that, and I didn't have nothing extra put in or anything, just a thing. And then I flushed everything out, and I was good.
And when you asked him, what was it that you put? What did he tell you?
Oh, he didn't. He just said that's just what they do, and he didn't. They were very. It was weird because they're very. They get annoyed if you ask questions. And they're like bothered, like, don't, stop asking, you know, that's, like, how dare you want to know what I'm doing to you? You know, it's just your life. But it was that kind of thing, and that was with everybody. Any other medical field, at the moment I would ask or say something, or make a stand on how I wanted to do things, they treated me like, just die and go away because you're a problem. You know, we don't need you to start getting people to start knowing stuff. And so it was kind of like that. It was so obvious. In fact, a perfect example, after my journey, and I started learning so much of how things run in the medical field. My younger daughter, geez, I know this, she had gotten, last year, 2014, in February 2nd, she had a severe blow to her head. So severe, and a lot of stuff had happened that she ended up having all her white matter gone, like it just was damaged. And so she was in a coma, and then got a call, and they were waiting for me to go there, to fly out to Chicago, to keep her alive till I got there, to make her comfortable, then let her die. Keep her.
It's basically brain dead, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
they actually said she was brain dead, and they went through the whole explanation, because they wanted me to understand that there was no way I was going to fix that. And of course, before I flew out, I did my research, and I started doing all the research, and started looking for things. I started posting things. In fact, I had a friend, one of my friends, Ken, who's sitting in the audience, who sent me a video of this guy.
Ken's the editor.
The editor of the film, yes.
Go ahead, stand up, Ken, let me see you.
And he sent me a video of this kid who was in a coma, and the same thing happened, and he was considered brain dead, and all this stuff they gave him is 20 grams of fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids. And I'm doing all this research on how to build your brain. So I went there and I told him, I said, I know what we're going to do for my daughter. I have to argue with these doctors, and I mean, it was such a pain, because they were speaking down to me as though I don't know anything because I'm not a doctor. And so, long story short, after a couple of me saying lawsuits and stuff like that, then they listened and they gave her the feeding tube, the 20 grams. And after 3 months of being in the hospital, she went to 3 different hospitals.
Milligrams or grams?
20 grams, not milligrams. It's 20 grams.
Grams a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1,000 milligrams is equivalent to 1 gram. So she had 20 grams of fish oil got into her. So by the 3rd day, she woke up out of the coma.
Well, actually, the point that the doctors were arguing as well is that that much fish oil is dangerous and it could kill somebody.
Because it caused bleeding and
Well,
I'm
they
like,
wanted to,
you want to turn off the machines. She's going to die anyway, right? So anyway, I knew that that was BS. I'm like, the body knows what to do with it. So I made him do it. 3 days later, she woke up. She was in a vegetative state. By the 3rd week, she was no longer vegetative state. By the 2nd month, she was able to speak. By the 3rd month, she was in a wheelchair and cracking jokes and laughing and the whole thing. And fast forward, she now lives in Wisconsin by my sister in her own apartment, is completely 100% fine.
That's amazing. A lot of for all of us, and you know, for me, who came so close to death as well. They pretty much said I wasn't going to make it. They even told my wife, Rick may not come back, or if he does, he may not come back normal, which is a good thing because I would have ended up being an accountant. So I came back.
Hey, I'm sure this went out there, no offense.
But I think the lesson here with all this is there's always hope. There's always hope. That's the amazing part about this story and continuous stories. What this really is saying is there's hope. I mean, when I heard about your daughter, I said, no, this is just, Lord has made it, and I was a bit of a cynic. And I saw you start seeing Facebook and all these posts, and you watch someone recover. And that's the beauty of what this is. Anyone else have another question? Yes?
Just one question, and to be fair, would you use any other doctors in other fields other than cancer in America, in the United States? In other words, it sounds like, and you know, I used to take my mother to Mexico, and I have a niece in UCLA right now in critical. So to me, it sounds like Mexico was the right deal. Do you guys, from this day forward, do you use any American doctors for any other condition?
Well, I'm like, honestly, I'm super healthy. I'm healthier now than before I ever got sick, to be honest. It's almost like, but things happen. I get a car accident and get, you know, and need surgery. I want to get put out. I don't want to be awake when they start sewing things up. But, so everything has its place. But I do have a doctor that I do see. Dr. Vasco, you see him on there. He's amazing. He totally worked with me. He never pushed anything. He actually believed in what I was doing. And so if you know, I'll go to him like every 3 to 4 months, sometimes 5 to 6 months, just to get a whole blood work done to see how everything's going. Because that way I can know where I'm at, and if there's anything I need to do to work towards. Like if I know if it's my liver or the kidney or whatever, then I know I'm going to start juicing certain things that'll work towards that. But every blood work, everything is actually just like, your blood work is so great. If you wanted to have kids, you could. And I'm going to be 50 in September, so I'm like, no, thank you. But it's like, you know, so for him, it's, you know, it's just like you're doing, like he even says, he goes, I've never seen no one's blood work so good like yours.
in fact, in cooperation though, when he found out that Lourdes was doing wheatgrass, he would say, well, how much wheatgrass?
Yeah, how much wheatgrass do you do?
I have another patient that I could prescribe the wheatgrass.
Yeah, like
What
he
are we
would
talking
want to know
about?
how much. In fact, I even showed him pictures of when the cancer stuff was coming out. In fact, when you saw those, there's other ones that were better. I don't know why they picked
I mean,
those.
the spaghetti?
Yeah, that was, oh yeah, that parasite was like living there for centuries. My God, I'm like, what?
It was when you were a vampire, that's when you
You should have seen me. Because anytime something happens, he needs to be around so I can have him take care of it. And I'm at Optimal Institute, and the whole time I'm like, oh my God! And I'm like, hanging on the toilet because I'm like, get out, it was dead, and I wasn't going to touch it. So it took forever to go, and I was like, where's my husband when I need him to pull it out?
That's
I'm not getting close, but I was freaking out.
And it's good.
This is why wine and cheese is a dinner show. It's not a dinner show.
But no, but to your point, when I see a doctor, I would definitely see Dr. Vasco, because I do love him, and he really is an amazing doctor who really does care. And he looks for things, he doesn't try to like, here, take this for it. You know, he's like, this is what's going on, and then I find out and I go take care of it. But, you know, I think that people should go see Dr. C if something's going on. And I think that when you do find out that something's going on, it is your responsibility to figure out what you're doing in your diet, what you're doing, and not just diet, you know, your surroundings. If you're always down, that really affects the chemical in your body. So,
well, I think healthy, I mean, one of the things that people are now looking at is getting back to basics. I mean, it's nutrition,
yes.
it's all these things. And in the Latino community, we have huge issues of diabetes and high blood pressure and all those things. And I'm sure a lot of our food doesn't really help that along.
yes.
And we've also now been we're the #1 in obesity.
Yeah, in fact, like my sister-in-law back in Wisconsin has diabetes, and I'm like, you can fix this, you know, but she's doing it her way.
Programmed.
She still drinks. Yeah, she's very programmed. She now she's to the point where she actually has that machine where it does it for her, where she's always getting the insulin, you know, the insulin, and it's so. But she still drinks, she still eats white rice. I'm like, if you have diabetes, you do not want to be eating white rice. Go to brown rice, do forbidden rice, but white rice is the worst thing. That like keeps your insulin so high. It's, you know, so there's all these things that people aren't taught that you can fix and feed back. Like even stevia, it's like if you take the leaves of stevia and you juice them and you drink them in water every day, that feeds the pancreas. That'll balance that back up to normal. You know, there's just things you can do to actually fix those things. Like people drink soda, I'm like, you know, you drink 1 can of soda, you compromise your immune system for 4 hours. So it's like you eat sugar, it destroys the mitochondria of your cells. So there are all these things that we do that we're continually thinking, I eat healthy. It's like, do you? Like, I used to think I ate healthy.
I was on an Indian reservation when I was a kid. I was in high school. I was on an Indian reservation. And I remember so clearly the Native Americans who ate naturally, like they hunted, because they were all thin, great shape, really healthy. The ones that took the government cheese,
Standard
flour,
American diet.
standard, all that stuff, obese. You know, it was so obvious to me as a kid to see that. And I think it really comes down to something as simple as what you put in your body. You know, the food you eat, all those things. This is why we have such big cancer clusters with pesticides and all these other problems.
GMOs too are a big thing. See, it's not one area. That's what people don't realize. Oh, yeah, everything causes cancer is what you hear, right?
Yes.
When you're overloaded, oh God, come on, we're all gonna die. Might as well smoke my cigarettes and drink my beer and stuff. Until they're on their deathbed, they're like, oh, shouldn't have done that, maybe. You know, if they even admit it. The fact is, we have multifactorial contributors to our horrible health condition. And the fact that we have a lot of TV programs, of which I'm part of as well, that kind of crowd out the shelf space. I mean, this woman, through her trauma, is probably much more versed in human health than 90% of doctors that have degrees. And that's the very interesting thing. So remember, MD doesn't stand for medical deity.
One more question. Anyone else? Yes, you sir. John.
Thank you, Rick, for coming and bringing an awesome show. There's a problem here in the United States, Mexico. I was raised in Mexico, and it's really different the diet we have over there and here. And it's everything. The advertising. You see a cowboy girl eating a burger. You see in commercials and everything. Even though we have classes about nutrition, we still see in advertising, and it's really hard for this generation to be healthy. And but bringing this show, I mean, it's really get the attention from us, and I'm like, right now I'm gonna go and I want to eat a salad or something, you know. So thank you for bringing the show and make us aware of what's happening out there, you know. Thank you so much.
You know, it's funny, in Mexico, 20 years ago, so like 30 years, I remember I was studying at the University of Tonoma in Guadalajara. My Spanish is still bad. I don't know what happened. It was out.
¿Por qué?
Almost white.
Mucho fiesta de la noche. So, but the point was, I remember meeting a Mexican girl, and I said, yeah, I'd love to take you to dinner. And she goes, really? Dinner anywhere? I said, American hamburgers. And I thought about it, it's like, man, I walked, now I go back to Mexico, and I'm in a grocery store, and you just get this whiff of sugar, and this whiff of processed food, and all the things. If you look at the real Mexican diet, is nothing what it is today. It's not supposed to be that. We've had only so many years of our genes to actually adapt to alcohol and certain things, and we've had lost. And this is why I think this is an important program. And I'll leave with this one last thing. I want to. Oh, you have one last question? What was it? Oh, yes. Wow, that's a good question. Okay, both hands. That's amazing. All right.
I have multiple questions.
Also,
So I'm curious to find out at what point were you diagnosed stage 4, and what type of chemo was given, and also at what point did you make that shift? Because I know that going through a journey personally, there's always that shift at some point where you kind of take it a step up to the next level. Me personally, I think disease dis-ease is environmental. And like you all said in the panel there, environmental means, not just what we're eating, but it's also the people that we surround ourselves with, our beliefs, our self-talk.
The stuff we use in the house.
Wi-Fi.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
no, I think we all agree. The environment and what we create and the people we hang out with, 1,000 factors, and the world we live in where we have cell phones constantly on and Twitter and Facebook.
Stress alone
Yeah.
will drop your immune system.
Stress.
Yeah, so I would say, well, from the very beginning, when I first was diagnosed, I was stage 3B. And that was in 2010. And then I started doing all the natural stuff. And I was pretty much almost done with it. And then I did the PT CAT scan because I wanted to show what it does. And then it spread through my entire body. And that was in 2012 in February of 2012 is when I was let know that I had like about a week left to live. Mm-hmm.
They told you a week to live.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when we went to Mexico, it was
I didn't have much
just
time.
a better time.
Yeah, it was like
That's
any
why
day.
they were with the...
Right, yes, and I had like 5% use of one lung. And mind you, at this point, I have never done chemo at that time. And I was not gonna do chemo. I only wanted to get rid, because I already got clear from my studies that chemo will cause cancer in the future, and I didn't want to go through that again. So I figured, let me just get rid of this naturally, because I don't want to do chemo so that later I have to keep checking and then end up with it again, and then metastasis, and I was like, no, that's not my life, I can't. And then watching my friends and family who went through it, who either passed or had very depleted lives from all the side effects because of chemo, I didn't want that life. I just like, no, there's too much I want to do in the world that I don't have time to be too sick. So that's when I did everything naturally, and when things turned around, it was so awesome. The part that really sucked for me, it was because I knew I had to eventually do the chemo to scar the lung, and it was like, ugh, of all things, I could have been done with this, but because they never fixed the pneumonia that caused this opening, so now I was kind of frustrated. And then when they did the chemo, they actually did, like, if they would have done a low dose in Mexico, I would have been fine. But here what they did is they gave me 5 different types of strong chemo. One little bag after another. And one of them was that pinkish orangey one. It's supposed to knock you. Yeah, it's the one that knocks your hair out. Yeah. Yeah, which they were already letting me know, you're losing your hair. And I'm just like, let's cut this short. And then I'm like, I didn't have to cut my hair short. I never lost it. But because I continued everything at home. Like
Against the doctor's wishes.
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure that when they put that stuff in, that because I knew it was so destructive, that I was building my body up so it didn't do as much destruction. And it worked. And then of course when they did the radiation, I was like, damn, they said this wasn't worse than chemo? The same day, right, I felt this lump, like it was so instant. And in my documents of my PT CAT scan, you actually see that it went to a 5 point something, which means cancer. Instantly, right in the back of my throat. And if I drank, my friend was like, I could hear the water, like I could drink and you're standing right this close, you could hear the water going over something. And that's how bad it got.
Well, the
instantly.
pill got stuck. That was-
And when I had to take a pill, it stayed right there. So when they told me I had a hot spot, cancer again, I thought, before I go see the specialist, I'm going to Optimal Health Institute. I'm just getting rid of this. I'm not going through the whole process of showing people got this clear through my journey. And I'm just going to get rid of it now. So then I went to Optimal Health Institute. And actually by the second day, it was so amazing how strong the detox process is there. With all the juicing and all the enemas and all the colonics and all the massage, like all this whole process. That on the second day I told them, I was like, I'm not even taking my pills. Like I used to, because my lungs were damaged from the treatments. And they told me that that was permanent, that I had lung expansion disease, where my lungs wouldn't expand like they need to. By the way, my lungs are at 100% now. But at that time they said it was not cured, and it is what it was. And I went there, and by the second day of doing that, I no longer felt the lung. I wasn't taking my pills. I didn't need the oxygen machine anymore. I hauled it with me and plugged it in, but there was no use of it because I didn't need it. And I went back and they couldn't find it. And the guy had, I mean, you saw it one time in there when he went in there. He went there many times because he couldn't get over in his mind that it wasn't there because they just saw it there. And so he had me come every 2 weeks, and I was like, dude, this is
He was
torture.
confident that on one of those tests, he
It
would
was gonna
see
show.
what the hot spot was.
And it never came back. It
I had
was-
a
it was
quick
gone.
question for you though. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
In 2012 was when the worst kind of part happened, right?
Yes.
How did your father, your own father's death in that same year affect you?
Well, that was actually very impactful because what had happened is I was in the coma in April because the treatments set off the whole, everything shut down. And so my father was in Puerto Rico, and because he couldn't get to me or talk to me and that kind of thing, he literally, this is what I was told when I went to go see him, is that he prayed every single night crying to God to take him instead because I had more life to live. I wish I could have told him that I was fine, because even in the coma, I could see everything, I could hear everything, and I knew I was getting better, but I couldn't tell anybody. And I could see everybody, and I'm going to tell them, like, it's all good. I'll be back. Like, it's, you know, I could see the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, I can't even tell them, and I'm right here, and I can see them. And so, so my dad prayed this, and then in September, and then he started having, after the prayers, he started having health issues. And he wasn't doing so well. And he went to the hospital, and they started trying to find what was going on, and they found that it's called an infarto with his heart, like something went off with his heart. So they kept doing all these tests, and they kept running. And they couldn't figure it out, and then in September, they finally admitted that I didn't have cancer anymore, and that was in September when they told my dad that he was full of cancer. And so my dad, because in his mind, he prayed to take him instead. He wouldn't do anything. And so I spoke with my dad, and I told him, I'm gonna go out there, and I'm gonna help you, and you're gonna be good, and we're gonna get rid of this, because I know how to do this now. And he's like, okay, and he wouldn't do anything. He chose option B. And so he got really bad and got to the hospital because he couldn't eat anymore. They started giving him an IV of sugar water, and I thought, oh, they've killed him. And so I called him and I said, I'm leaving tonight, I'll be there in the morning. I said, Bobby, I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna take you and I'm gonna bring you back. And I said, I love you and I want you to know that you're the best father on this planet. And then he like barely was talking and said he loved me too. And it was a Thursday night, December 13th, I'll never forget. It was the night that every hour on the hour there was a shooting star. And that's the night he died. So I didn't make it. I went there to bury my father, who did make it, who did choose option B because he felt that he made a deal with God.
So,
Like for myself, I was in a coma, right?
Yes.
I don't know how long I was in, but every 2 months, 3 months, a week, whatever, I was like, I don't care, I'm right here, I'm happy, I'm alive, second chance. But my brother, he's like, he stayed there the whole time. And the machine, it was getting flooded, I couldn't breathe. He had stepped out. So I couldn't move because they had me tied down. So I was like, whoa, you know, and he go, what? And I went like that, and he looked, and he put it right, they moved it. Or it came out by itself. I didn't really know because, you know, I was waking up and I was like, whoa. And my brother came and they let me drinking soda, like Pepsis, because they're like, my brother knows I like them. So instead of buying, he bought a 1 liter of Pepsi, right? So then I was like, the first time I woke up and I was like, whoa. And the second time I woke up, I see my mom. So I needed water because my mouth gets dried with the vitamins. You gotta break them in half so it won't get stuck. And I went, and then my mom was there, and I'm like, whoa, she was in Mexico. And then I go and I was just pointing like, you know, like to the Pepsi. So she gave it to me, and I drowned the whole Pepsi. So thank God I kept it, because if not, I would have been dead. I wouldn't have had strength. Because it's like, that's what I think. I don't know if it's true. It's got caffeine. Coke, and back these had cocaine. So I go, I needed a new generation. No, that's all I trained. No, you know, I want to make a commercial just to show people, you know, what Pepsi could do. Right? No, but, no, you know what I mean?
By the wire,
No, I was like choking. So I pointed, and my mom was like, oh. So I saw it, so I go like that. She opened it, and I was just there, she was waiting for me, and she don't like me to drink soda. And I was drinking it, but we're so used to caffeine in our family, because we've always had ice cream trucks. So it's like, when they tell you, oh, what's diabetes, what's this, you know? And then he goes different. Because I go there with my dad, because he can't walk, you know, and this, and I'm always like, he's in college, because family's first. And, but it was kind of crazy, because my brother, he's like, I told him when I die, I want to go in one piece. So when I cut off my leg, and he's like, no. You know?
It still works, it looks like.
It was better, but when it gets colder later, when I go to New York, it hurts. No, I don't, sometimes. But I suck it up, you know, because I don't want to take medication and later. But some lady said, oh yeah, you'll be all right till you're 60. And I get all these doctors, and they're always upping my medication. So I let them, you know, okay. But now they give it to me like every 3 months, how I need it. And every 2 weeks, I'm like, whoa. And tell them, I'm tired, Mom, I'm tired. You know, don't give me that, it's too sleep in the night, the trazodone. And I told her, oh, I'm already feeling all right, because I take them like I want. But she gave me 2 cut and a half, but it says needed. She gave me all like a couple of days ago. And it was a new doctor that gave it to me, some girl. So then I was telling her, Mom, you know, I stay up at night sometimes to clean my room, because that's the only time when you get peace. And what's the best, one place in your house that you can rest and nobody should bother you?
Room, right?
No, rest, room.
Restroom. Right, you go. I like to use the words.
Well,
Where do we find Lourdes' book or guide on health and holiness?
yeah,
Actually, we are in the middle of writing the book, still in the process of writing it, so it's going to be a bit, but hopefully soon.
Well, there's some pages already at the editor, and they're going through some of it, and as she's editing, we're throwing more at her, so.
It's a dangerous thing, though, just to say, for us, people who know what we know, to talk to people who have health issues, because you could get in some serious trouble
Yeah,
for giving
yeah.
medical advice without a license.
So with
Yeah,
that
that's
in mind, everything
why I
you
was
said
saying,
tonight is.
This is what I would do if I had both. So I really do get a lot of inboxes daily from many people that are fighting cancer right now, and different other illnesses. Majority is cancer, but there's some people with other health issues that I've been helping. And I always tell them, and they're like, well, I'm having this, or they tell me whatever it is, and I just say, well, if it were me, and I was dealing with these are the things that I would drink, take, and these are the things I would take out of my diet. So I do that kind of stuff, because you do have to be careful, because,
They want to shut you down.
yeah, if one person gets good, and they're like, oh my God, so-and-so told me this, and I did it, and I got better, and they're like, who told you that? Or she's not, no, she's not, and then you get, because they don't want you to help others get better naturally, it's just the way it is. So, there's no
That's why
money
we're
in that, so,
Good point.
yeah, so it's one of the things I do is I do say, if it were me, this is what I would do. And I have, in fact, my friend, and I'll take your question in a second, my friend Dwayne, who is a kidney patient. He has kidney failure, stage 4, the end of it all. And I've been telling him for the past 3 years, I'm like, dude, you can fix that, there's a cure. No, and so I told him, you gotta do, oh, I can't do that because it'll give me a heart attack because of the potassium. And I'm like, none of it's a natural health food. And he goes, no, but they told me, I'm like, but they're not trained in that. So we back and forth forever. Fast forward, okay? He just, was it this year in February? February must be my month. He finally tried the stuff I said, and we had our friend Kenny work on him, and he did all the stuff that Kenny was telling him about the juicing and the greens and all the stuff that he said he couldn't do, and he said, okay, I'm gonna try it. because he's been doing a documentary to find the cure. And the good news is, and I didn't know this, and people had kidney failure like that, I didn't know they didn't pee. Like, that's weird to me. Like, how do you not go to the bathroom? But they don't. Like, he did, and it's been 2 years for him. Since he's been doing all these things, and doing all the greens and all this stuff, and organic and healthy and juicing and all these things, he's not only getting kidney function again, he goes to the bathroom several times a day, and uses the bathroom even in the middle of the night. And he's actually, and there, every time you go there, they check you, and his numbers are actually improving. And this is for something that they've told him there's no cure for.
So the body wants to heal itself, the body is constantly trying to regenerate.
This is, I think, a good way to end our discussion tonight.
Oh, he had a question right
In terms of the cost for this holistic protocol,
Well,
Oh, the cost, you know what, it depends on like for me, I was in bad shape. So I spent $32,000. And for chemo, I think it's like $100 grand a treatment, and mine was $32,000 for the full 3 weeks of treatment.
when you get it right, it's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
It's like,
And, right, if you know what, if health insurance would be health insurance, insuring your health, not saying only if it's this, then it would cost you nothing.
it's like incarceration versus education. It only costs $7,000 to educate a child, something like that. I think it's $57,000 to incarcerate them.
Yeah. So it all depends. I mean, there's people that they spend really less. Some people pay even more because it depends on their situation, things that get done. But if that answers your question.
But what we're
Yes.
finding is that more and more people are having difficulty paying for holistic medicine because health insurance doesn't cover holistic medicine, which is a sad reality. And you know, that has to happen as a community. We have to start saying, you know, health insurance does not control our lives. We need health insurance to cover, you know, these different aspects. Write letters, make a voice heard.
Yeah, and I'm also working with a few people now to kind of create something so that, just like everybody's, let's go march and donate billions of dollars to, let's look for the cure. And we're actually going to look for people, there's a team to now find a nonprofit where the money goes there, and then people can actually not have to sweat and worry and stress about how they're going to pay for these natural treatments and instantly get taken care of. Because when you're in that time, that space of time, you don't have time to waste. You need to take care of it immediately. So we're trying to work on that as well.
Yeah, I think last thoughts is that, because we have to close it down.
I know he had a question over there. You see him? Raise your hand? Yes.
You're so good, okay.
Yeah.
What's the last question?
Okay. How important was it doing research on curing cancer, on your cancer, doing the research on it?
How important is it?
Yeah, and do you do that for your other medical issues?
I do it for everything, and it is life and death important for you to do the research.
And I think what's being said here, the takeaway for this evening is be involved in your own recovery. Be involved. You can't be passive about it. You can't let a doctor or whoever tell you really what you're going to do. And I think there's always hope. There's always hope. It's mental, it's nutrition, there's 1,000 things, but seek your cures. Be involved in your recovery and in your health. And that's a big part of this question.
seek and you shall find.
Yes. Well, yes.
I'm sorry. Thank you for coming. Big fan. I just wanted to ask if you guys could sing Happy Birthday to my daughter. Her birthday's going to be tomorrow. Look at
What's her name?
Now, what's her name?
Kathleen.
Okay, now that's a mother. That's a mother, okay.
Yeah, but it is my traumatizer.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kathleen. Happy birthday to you. So I want to thank all of you for coming tonight and continue to support this program. I want to thank our board member, Dr. Perez, who's here, Dr. Duran, and lovely wife, and of course, I'd like to thank Jamila Moore, Dr. Moore, and Ken Sherwood, and Mike Bush, all the people that make this happen, and Rafael Augustine. Thank you all for coming and keep coming back.
Estamos aquí con Isaí, y Laura, gracias por venir. Lourdes.
Sí.
¿Quieres empezar otra vez?
Ya. Lourdes.
Colón.
Lourdes.
Lourdes. Nuestras.
Ok. Hey, estamos aquí en el Oxnard College con Lourdes y Isaí Morales.
Hola,
¿Cómo
¿qué
se
tal?
sienten?
Increíble.
Increíble.
Sí, no, muy bien,
Sí.
porque este público nos entendió, nos apreció el mensaje que teníamos aquí, que tenemos.
Gracias por venir y es una gran inspiración. Un consejo que le quieran decir a la gente que está sufriendo en esos momentos están sufriendo por lo mismo que pasó usted. ¿Qué les quería decir?
Bueno, que siempre siempre cuando te dicen algo, siempre sea sin duda que sí puedes ganarlo. Averigua y educarte qué es esa cosa que tiene que ser para quitarte el cáncer. O sea, bueno, para mí es todo lo que te comes, todo lo que bebes, todo lo que te pones encima, todo lo que usas para limpiar, la mente, cómo uno se siente con la gente. Si hay gente que son negativos, sácatelo de la vida. Averigua a ver lo que hay que está ahí afuera que sí puede curar el cáncer, porque la cura sí ya existe.
No lo anuncian.
No, exacto.
Tenemos muchas curas.
Muchísimas curas. Ya tienen 3 hospitales que tienen curas que usan un virus.
Sí, un virus, sí.
Que le inyectan a la persona y ya le quita el cáncer. Eso nada más investigan qué es que hay allá que sí existe ya para curar el cáncer.
Si uno busca, va a encontrar, pero tienes que buscar y tienes que buscar inteligentemente, no solamente dar todo el poder y confianza a lo que un médico dice. Tiene que escuchar a varios médicos y naturopatas.
Sí.
Por ejemplo, sabemos que no hay tanta información en el internet, hay mucha mala información. ¿Dónde podrían buscar buena información o dónde los pueden encontrar ustedes para que usted los aconseje?
Bueno, los dos estamos en Facebook. Si buscas Isaí Morales, lo encuentran en Facebook. Si buscas a Lourdes Colón, en Facebook también se encuentra. Y si van en el website www.createoptionc.com, también tengo información ahí.
Sí.
Qué bueno.
Diga. No, es que hay que practicar la búsqueda. Lo más que uno se da cuenta de lo más que uno investiga, más se da cuenta de qué es y qué no es realístico. Y después de un tiempo, el ojo y el oído se mejora y uno puede ver que esta información resuena en mi corazón y en mi cuerpo. La información buena tiene un poder que si uno lo busca, lo vas a encontrar.
Sí, y también es recordar, mira, a mí me dijeron que tenía una semana de vida que me quedaba. Okay, eso fue en 2012, aquí estamos en 2015, aquí estoy más saludable.
Sí. Última pregunta, ¿verdad?
Claramente. Tengo que decirlo bien
claramente. Bésame.
Y quiero sentir tu boca. Labios.
Besándome otra vez.
Ok. Ya lo vamos a avanzar como artista. Entonces vamos a cerrar esto. Entonces, gracias por los consejos que le dices a la gente. Es una inspiración. Gracias por venir al colegio y hemos aprendido mucho sobre ti y sobre Isaí también. Y gracias por venir siempre y apoyarnos a nuestra nueva generación, que tenemos mucho cosas que aprender y siguen haciendo lo que están haciendo. Han pasado por varias batallas y las han ganado las batallas y todas, claro, vienen más batallas enfrente, ¿verdad? Y van a seguir luchando y nosotros también. Y gracias por venir y formar parte del colegio ahora. Y aquí los esperamos con los brazos abiertos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ustedes. Bueno, nosotros también como ustedes y todos allá somos guerreros de la luz y el amor. Y ahí, para eso sí se lucha.
Gracias. Hi there, everyone. I'm with Chris, spouse of Lourdes.
Correct, yes. I'm her husband.
Tell me, Chris, how do you feel? Do you feel, I know you guys went to a really big battle and you guys win it. Tell me how you feel now.
Life is sweeter. Life is better. Like, you don't know how precious life is. So for example, Lourdes used to ask me to give her back rubs all the time. And I was like, back rub again, right? But now it's like every night I give her a back rub whenever she wants it, because I appreciate now, those little things meant so much to her. And so I'd say on a real serious level, we're more in love than we ever were. Our life is much better than it ever was because we appreciate those little things so much more than we did before, things we took for granted before.
So now that I know you guys love life so much because you guys been through a lot of process when you guys the other, you guys lost everything. So what do you guys do now, like when you have that time? And I know you enjoy every moment of your life, but when you have the time, it's not working. When you have that free time, what are you doing in your free time? How do you spend it?
Well, we go back to our old hobbies. I mean, we go to watch movies together, screenings. We'll go to a friend's houses, things like that. A lot more free time is done together now than ever it was before. So
Now that, what are you guys looking forward? Like, what's a big goal for you guys to accomplish in the next 10 years or 20?
Well, we've got our production company now up and running. It was born out of necessity because of this project, but now that the production company's in place and then it's official, we've actually got a short film slotted to film next month, and then a web series that's going to be perhaps a month after that if we can get things to work out properly. And we're working on the next documentary already, which is about our daughter and her journey with her brain injury and going through the coma. And we're looking to make this into a series of Option C's, because there's Option C covers a lot of ground. It's not just cancer. It's about choosing your life and being powerful in your decisions and taking responsibility for your own life.
And you guys are really strong because you guys have been through a lot of things, and you guys have be strong and fight it with heart. So I'm really inspired for you, and you guys, thank you for coming to Oxford College.
Of course.
And we'll wait for you if you guys want to come later in the future. We will wait for you guys here, and we'll open arms.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.